This is essentially how to make a beat. This is already a beat that you could write something over, rap something over, use it as a song. Where we can take it further now is creating more dynamic within the beat and changing some of the velocities within the hi-hats especially, maybe the snares too, and then layering some claps on the snare too, or maybe adding some rolls on the hi-hats. This is just going to make the beat more exciting. So let's do that right now. Let's start with rolls on the hi-hats. So let's say around the transition we want some type of roll. Something like that. How to create a roll is just basically within like this area here, we just want many hi-hats happening. So I'm going to zoom in here, and now I'm going to just take this hi-hat and make it smaller, but now I'm also just going to put 3 hi-hats in this little bar. So I'm going to create another one, and I'm going to create one more. Oh, it happened to fall there, but I'm just going to drag it up and see what this sounds like. So it's just a roll here. It's going, and if we want this to be locked in, we can just highlight them and go over here. We cannot quantize by 1/16 because that's just going to make them all be here, because it's saying bring all these notes to the nearest bar, which is this bar here. So this is what that will be like. See, they've all snapped to this line. We want to quantize actually by 1/64th, and you'll notice that there's think of invisible lines here that are supposed to be here. I'm not sure why GarageBand doesn't put them. So that's what a roll sounds like. If we zoom out, we can also have one here if we want at the end. So we click in, drag it down, make a copy, or just draw 2 more in, and then highlight these and quantize by 1/64th. It's okay if they're that small, they don't need to be touching. So now we can loop at the top and hear what this sounds like with the rolls. If you don't want the rolls in those places, you can go and delete them, edit them, and create them in other areas. The next thing we can do, especially with the hi-hats, because they're so high in the mix and they're really easy to hear, we want to have some type of velocity. So in order to change the velocity, which is like the strength of the note, we can do it in 2 ways. We can just click on the note, and you can see we have velocity here. We can use this slider to change the strength of the note. And you can see this middle bar here. The stronger we go, the bigger that middle bar is. The smaller we go in velocity, the smaller this bar is. So we want a velocity pattern as well. If not, then all the hi-hats are going to sound like a machine, and it can become quite annoying. Just to have a small difference in velocity will really help your hi-hats. A good rule of thumb is to have the first on the 1, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 on the ones, have those be a bit louder and have these be a bit quieter. So a quick way to do that is to go and to go to the ones, just make them a bit louder, and then highlight these 3 and just make them quieter. It's a bit louder, make these a bit quieter. And you can also dial in on these separate ones and make them all have their own dynamic as well. You'll see this part has velocity dynamic and this part doesn't. And you'll try to hear that difference. It also can be very much a stylistic thing to your genre and your style of music. If you'd prefer to have the machine like hi-hats, then don't change the velocity. Another thing we can do now to add beats is layering. So we can look for different types of snare-like sounds, maybe a clap to add with our snare. So where is a clap? We can just click and drag on our keyboard here. We can also be doing this on our actual MIDI controller as well. If you don't have a MIDI controller, the other way I wanted to mention too was using musical typing, which is under Windows.